Why is that so important to you?
It's important to me. It actually became the unexpected pivot that the Lord had for my life, apparently. I always saw myself as a preacher. I wanted to be Lisa Bevere. I even had 4 teenage boys, marrying a pastor, no pulpits available, and I was not able to do that. That was very heartbreaking for about 10 years. Where is the outlet for my voice gonna go? Finally, though, I realized, and I know I'm a communicator. I know I'm called to teach the Word of God. I thought podcasting sounded like a nice, quiet way to hide on the internet. Now is not so hidden and quiet anymore.
Today's guest has a top 1% podcast that reaches over 116 countries and has hosted over 150 voices from all walks of life. If you've ever wondered, can my voice really make a difference? Is podcasting worth it in a noisy world? What if I start, but I never finish? Then this conversation will show you why your voice matters. Well, sit back, kick back, and let's get started, for this is the School of Influence. The School of Influence, where legends are made and legacies are started. Interviews and insights to grow your impact on social media, networking, and stages. Class is now in session.
We're gonna take on the world.
Hey, welcome everybody. I'm your host, Devin Schubert, also known as the Man in Orange, and I'm honored that you are here today because my guest today is the host of a globally ranked Java with Jen podcast. She's in the top 1% of the world, heard over 116 countries, and she's had over 150 incredible guests. But she's not just a podcaster. She's a voice that stewards what she has to say. She's a coach and a leader that's teaching Christians all over the world to hear God in their everyday life. But what I love most is this. Jenilee believes that your story, your convictions, and your passions are meant to be multiplied, not buried. So, help me welcome my friend, Jenilee Samuel. All right. Hey, Jenilee, welcome to the School of Influence.
Hey, Devin. Thanks for having me, man.
Man, I'm so excited for this. We met online, and then a lot of times with the people that I meet, you meet on Facebook, and then you finally get to meet the people in person. And one of the things that I love is when you meet somebody and they're just as real in person as they are when you talk to them on social media. We don't always see that.
True, it's true. There could be such a diversity between the two experiences, but you are also just the same as online. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. So today we're going to talk about podcasting and all the things that you absolutely love, you live for, but it started with your voice. So why podcasting? Why is that so important to you? Well, pardon the interruption, but let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your story was meant to impact thousands or millions of lives, but you literally just didn't know where to start? Did you know that there's over 2.9 billion people watching social media every single day? That's literally the biggest stage in the entire world. And yet most people are completely invisible on it. Why? Because they don't know how to tell their story in a way that actually connects to other people. And that, my friends, is exactly why I created Stories to Stages. We help you craft your entire story, professionally edit your video, and then we publish it across all major platforms. Plus, I'm going to give you access to my entire storytelling bootcamp. This is over $25,000 worth of value, but right now you can get the entire thing for just $7. $7. Because this isn't just a course, this is a launching pad. We've helped people with no audience, no experience, finally share their story with confidence and to get real reach. Because your story told in the right way involves and moves people. So go to stories2stages.com and grab your $7 spot with the code of podcast1. Your story was not meant to stay silent. So let's get seen, let's get heard, let's get paid, and let's set people free. So go to storiestastages.com, grab your $7 spot, and use the code PODCAST1 and get yours today. Now, back to the show.
It's important to me because it actually became the unexpected pivot that the Lord had for my life, apparently. I always saw myself as a preacher. I wanted to be Lisa Bevere. I even had 4 teenage boys just to catch up to her. No, I'm just kidding. But, I was in lockstep, right? But marrying a pastor, I thought, this is my promised land. I will finally get to preach. It's built into the lifestyle, And sure enough, there was no pulpits available, and I was not able to do that. And so that was very heartbreaking. For about 10 years, I really just struggled and cried, like, where is the outlet for my voice going to go? And I do think there's a season in our own development. Usually there's a death of the vision at some point before there's a resurrection of it. That was the death of my vision. And finally, though, I realized at the end of my life, I'm going to stand before the Lord and give an account for what he put in me. And I know I'm a communicator. I know I'm called to teach the word of God. And so it's up to me to figure out a way to do this. I'm not going to be able to blame anyone when I'm standing before the Lord. And so I thought podcasting sounded like a nice, quiet way to hide on the internet. And it now is not so hidden and quiet anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the things that you've done, it's 160 different countries that you're in?
Yes. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's incredible. How do you differentiate? This is a question I get a lot. How do you differentiate between a video podcast, like YouTube type of thing, or just an audio type of podcast? How do you differentiate, and how did you choose that?
Well, personally, I chose audio because it's easier. Like, you don't have to mess with cameras and lighting. And truthfully, I didn't want to have to put makeup on to do an episode. So lame. But I do interviews all the time now, and so I still end up having to put makeup on. So there's that. I do video now. I do not highly produce it. It's very much just, here's the interview from Zoom, and I throw it on YouTube. So I could probably do better there, but you got to choose your heart, right? And so I just do that. But it's really, my audience is on the audio side. And what a lot of people don't realize is that if you're trying to decide which one to do, there are 2 different groups of people and how they consume, whether it's an audio podcast or a YouTube podcast. Even the time in which people consume on those platforms is very different. Tuesday through Thursday is the top time to publish an audio podcast. Friday through Sunday is the top time for a YouTube podcast, because that's when people are scrolling on YouTube and just drowning their sorrows in videos, And so people who are audio podcast listeners tend to be a slightly wealthier demographic because they're active learners. People who are active learners are usually leaders, and so they take seriously their growth. So their mindset is different. Whereas people on Facebook, it's a much larger pool, and people over there tend to, in general, not everyone, but in general, tend to be more about the entertainment aspect and just escaping life and finding something to just burn the time. Whereas the audio podcast listeners, it's part of their schedule, part of their routine. It's intentional listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. That was worth the entire episode right there. Here I go. So let me ask you this then. Can you deliver a podcast audio on Tuesday through Thursday and do the same thing on YouTube Friday through Saturday and just upload them and make them live on different times?
Absolutely. I mean, you get to write the rules for your own show, man. But yes, if you're uploading it when the time is right for that platform, 100%. That's probably a very smart move. And if you publish on YouTube, I always publish mine live as a live premiere, because I feel like it puts it at the top, like it pushes it a little more visibly. And so I always publish mine as a live premiere, even if it's pre-scheduled.
Ah, nice. I love that. Great tip.
Yeah.
Great tip. So as people are starting to, find their voice and find this calling on their life to get it out there, how do you help people be able to fine tune that podcast so, we're not preaching to the world about everything about everybody and nobody listens?
Oh, that's such a big deal right there. In fact, it's so important what you just described, because I help run a Facebook group for podcasters. It's got almost 40,000 Christian podcasters in it. I've been in there since it was about 1,000. And what I see when people share their content is a lot of them don't have that mastered, what you just described. Their artwork is messy and complicated. I can't tell what their show is about. Their titles are confusing and abstract. I don't know if they know who they're talking to, so if you don't get clear on those foundational things, your podcast is going to flail like a child lost in the ocean. Like, it's not going to go anywhere. And so I actually have a 4-day challenge that if people want to coach with me, I make them do the challenge first now, because it lays such an essential foundation. I've had people take that challenge who'd been podcasting for 5 years, and they said, now I know what we've been doing wrong. We're going to redo our whole show. I've had other people come in that either had a show or were brand new, but they were craving that clarity. And when they went through the different days with me, they got so much clarity on what their core message was, who their audience was, how to title their show, that they literally cried. They literally cried because of the clarity they were getting. And so that is so important. If you don't know who you're talking to, you don't know what content to make, you don't know what language to use, like, very important.
Yeah, that's it's so true. It's so true in just many of different avenues in our life, not just even just podcasting. If we're trying to coach, we're trying to build a business, we're trying to do ministry. Are we focusing on evangelism? Are we focusing on discipleship? Two different types of people. So I think that's so good to be able to help people with that. When you talk about titles, is it important to have it make sense and be clear, or to focus on SEO and friendly words that the algorithm would like?
Both. There's multiple layers to building out a title. And that's once you get your brain programmed that way, it becomes more second nature. Or if you program a ChatGPT a prompt, that helps too. I don't totally love having Chat do it, because Chat has language that Chat uses that sounds like ChatGPT used it, so but I will sometimes spend more time on crafting my title than I even will editing my episode. And the episode I record so that I shouldn't have to edit, so I don't like to spend time editing. But the title, I've heard it said this way: every episode needs to have a problem it's solving and a promise it's making. And it needs to be clear in your title what that problem is and what that promise is. And so I'll use my subtitle of my show as an example. My show is Java with Jen, Hearing God's Voice for a Spirit-Led Life. And so the problem I'm solving is I'm teaching them how to hear God's voice. The transformation is so that they can live a Spirit-led life. And so your titles, there's various formulas to creating good titles and embedding that. People love numbers. So 3 simple ways to overcome imposter syndrome so you can crush your business goals or whatever. That is 3. If you do numbers, people feel like it's tactical, so they really like that. But you have to paint a clear mental picture of the problem you're solving and the transformation they're going to get, or the promise that you're making in every episode. Because like, I had a friend has a podcast. She's had it for years. She's top 10%. And I did a 1-minute audit on her show with my phone. I just sent her a voice memo, and I sent her a video, and I said, okay, here's what I would do with your titles. She was doing her titles where it spelled out episode 75. I'm like, boom, you're losing so much SEO right there. And then she would put with guests, Abraham and Isaac, but I was like, if they're not a household name, don't put their name in the front of the title. Nobody cares who they are. Put their name at the end simply so they're still searchable, But you need to lead, just cut it down to 75. Don't put episode. We already know that. And then put in there the problem that you're solving and the solutions for the listener. And so she was like, oh, this is great. So she went through and she started redoing her titles. Her listens are going to go up just by changing her SEO and making it more clear to the listeners.
Wow. So changing it doesn't affect the algorithm, and that could actually help you be certain.
Oh, yeah. 100%. If you've already got a bunch of videos or a bunch of episodes up, you could go through every 6 months and change the titles, just tweak them and change out your keywords, and you'll see a boost in your downloads every time you do it, just because it kind of refreshes it in the algorithm a little bit, but it allows you to utilize new keywords. Because you know how people's search patterns change. There's trends that come and go. And so you want to kind of always be sensitive. Now, I don't go through and retitle everything. I have too many episodes for that. But I am always trying to stay fresh on what kind of approaches to use for SEO. But 100%, you can totally redo them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you correspond the story that you tell inside of your podcast, that main part, and then be able to translate it? Like, what's that process to getting to that title to make sure that the essence of your story, what you really want to get out, how do you, what's kind of a framework or something that you utilize for that?
Yeah, that can be kind of tricky for people because the fact that you've already heard the content, this is where people get hung up. They come at it from all the back knowledge of the content that's in the episode. The problem with that is it kind of makes you blind to how someone who's never heard the episode is going to see it or even look for it. So what I try to do is if I have an episode, I think to myself, in 6 months, if I need to find this episode to send to a friend, what am I going to search for to find the episode? And I think through what are the keywords I'm going to search. And so I did one last week on a friend of mine. We talked about dangerous prayers, how to pray dangerous prayers to unlock miracles in your life, and how he's the potential next new owner of Smith Wigglesworth's home. And so I was like, okay, Smith Wigglesworth is going to be a keyword I'm going to look for, as well as dangerous prayers. So I make sure those keywords are in my title, and then I kind of work through the rest. Dangerous prayers. Then I go, okay, dangerous prayers. Why does my listener who's not heard these stories care about dangerous prayers? Well, because of what it can do for you. Praying bolder prayers can literally be a key to more miracles in your life. So I make that the front part of the title. And then I added, which it was kind of tricky, but I added, and I don't remember what I called, something about Wigglesworth's legacy or whatever, but I made sure Wigglesworth was in there. And then, so sometimes the titles are a little longer. I'm not afraid of that. I think it makes it more searchable. But the biggest thing is it needs to be clear what it's about. It needs to speak to the concerns of the listener and make it something they go, oh, I've been wondering about that. Or, oh, I've been thinking about that. Oh, I need that solution in my life. And so to make them click it, or it needs to make them really curious enough to click as well.
Yeah. So then how does the title translate to the thumbnail?
Okay, so it's the thumbnail on YouTube is more important than the thumbnail on audio podcasting. So a lot of top podcasters don't even create thumbnails for like new ones for each episode. I have over the years been doing that, but I'm experimenting now with not, because I realize when I publish a new episode and I open Apple, it shows the artwork. But if the artwork is not clear that it's Java with Jen podcast, all they see is a new title and a new face, and they may not even realize it's my show. And so I'm actually pausing the artwork creation for uploading to Apple. And then, but when it comes to a thumbnail for YouTube, I will do it over there. So what I've heard, Myron Golden said this. He said, on YouTube, you need the thumbnail to be controversial or shocking or severely curiosity-inducing. It doesn't need to match the title. It's almost like you ask the question on the thumbnail that the title will then answer. And so what I might do for the dangerous prayers one, I might say, God's not answering your prayers on the thumbnail. And then the title says how dangerous prayers can bring more miracles into your life and get you more answers or something like that. So the thumbnail on YouTube needs to be provoking, where the title answers the question or brings the resolution or the context that they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Very clear. Do the shows on audio need to be the same title and description and thing as they are on YouTube?
What I'm learning is no, because again, people function differently on those different platforms. So I've been told to take out the numbers, which sometimes it's not possible because I have my RSS feed integrated with YouTube. So my audio podcast just shows up on YouTube. So the title is exactly the same. But if I'm going to manually upload the video, sometimes I'll adjust the title because YouTube does not like super long titles. And so it'll be like, don't worry, we fixed it. We shortened your title for you. I'm like, oh crap, what did they title my video? So you definitely have to put a different approach to your YouTube titling. And to be honest, I'll be honest, I'm still figuring out the YouTube space. Audio podcasting has been my focus for all these years. And so I'm just now really being more intentional with YouTube. But no, they don't have to match at all. You want your title on whatever platform it is to speak to what the people on that platform would be intrigued by and would be interested in. It could be a totally different title, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's good. I love what you just said as an example of you starting with audio podcast. In social media, I tell people when you're just starting on social media and getting your business out there, start on one platform. Like,
Yeah.
get that down to you're making 10K a month, then venture out because each platform is so different. Who's on it is different. So exactly what you're saying. And I love that you're living that out by example of like, hey, I'm dabbling in this. Here's some of the things I'm learning. But as leaders, it's important that we test things really before we step out and officially teach them and say, hey, here's the proven framework. So I love that about your integrity of all of this.
Thank you. Yeah, with YouTube being so different and me feeling like, because a lot of my students want to be on YouTube. So I'm like, if I'm going to coach them well, I need to know what the heck I'm doing over there. And so I actually created a GPT in ChatGPT to help my students, if they're moving over to YouTube, how to strategize their different content and how to have that different approach. And I told Chat, I programmed it to help them grow to 100,000 subscribers in 6 months. I don't know if it's actually going to do that, but if nothing else, like I had it audit my YouTube channel and it gave me some incredible advice. And I was like, oh, this is so good. And so I'm pretty excited to kind of play with that and implement, because if nothing else, progress is progress, right? So
Yeah, that's worth joining the program right there, everybody.
there you go.
So I've heard it say that, podcast is more of a magnet than it is a megaphone. Do you feel like that's true, or how would you describe that?
Okay, in some regards, I feel like podcasting is the back door to the stage. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to fight for a seat. You just go in through the back door, and it's the shorter path to a stage. And the reason why is because YouTube is incredibly saturated. People are saying, oh, podcasting is saturated. No, the heck it is not. In fact, look, while I'm here with you, I'm going to go and look up real-time data, and I'm going to tell you what the number is of people listening to podcasts right this second around the world. It is 1,109. 1,109. Like 1,000 people are listening to podcasts right now. That's it. Around the entire world. That's how many episodes are being streamed. You cannot tell me that is saturated. That is so undersaturated. YouTube, there's probably millions of videos being streamed right now. Instagram, TikTok, millions being streamed right now. So 1,100, that is nothing. And so what that means is it is so much easier to become a big fish in a small pond. That's what I tell my students. It is a good time to be a podcaster, because now that has grown. 2 years ago, when I would look it up, it was in the 400s, 400 to 500s. And so it's already at almost 1,200. And so it's tripled in just like 2 years. And so the momentum is growing over there. But that's why I say it's the back door to the stage, because I feel like I was able to hit top 1% as a podcaster much more quickly and much more easily than I would have on YouTube. Now, some people say it's easier to grow on YouTube, but you're also in a much larger pond. So it's, pick your hard kind of thing. But what I love about being a podcaster and having a microphone is because I have an audience and I have a microphone and I was able to build this audience. I mean, yes, it takes work and it takes consistency, but I feel like it was fairly easy. Easy is the wrong word, but it was doable. And what this does is it puts me in rooms with people that I wouldn't be in rooms with otherwise. Like Adam Curry came and spoke to my podcast network on Monday. Adam Curry is the pod father. He founded podcasting. He's the guy, he told us the story. Steve Jobs called him and said, hey, Adam, I heard you're podcasting. There's a new thing. I want it on the iPods. Can you help me? Back in like 2000 or 99. He goes, can you help me get them on the iPod? And so Adam's like, sure, I think I've got some time for you, Steve Jobs. And so that guy who has been bringing in 7 and 8 figures from listener sponsors on his podcast, his audience is over 1 million. And when we launch our Godcaster, my podcast network, we're going to do a big launch in October. Adam is going to promote it to his whole entire audience. I'm like, praise the Lord. Okay, I wouldn't be in that room if I wasn't a podcaster with a podcast network. And Sean Bowles messaged me last week and he said, hey, Jen, let's do a podcasting seminar. You and I will be the coaches. We'll just do it ourselves. 2 hours for you, 2 hours for me. Let's do it. I said, awesome. Since when in my life has Sean Bowles been my friend? But he's been my friend for the last 2 years, all because of podcasting. And so it puts you in rooms with people that you could have worked a lifetime to try to get close to and maybe never have achieved it. So to me, it feels like the magic cheat sheet of life to connect all your doors. And then last week I had Auntie Annie of Annie's Pretzels. Auntie Annie's Pretzels. She's the wealthiest female entrepreneur in the United States historically. And I get to spend an hour picking her brain and being inspired by her. I have these top-notch mentors in my life, and I have an excuse for it because I have a podcast. So I get to spend an hour for free picking their brains. Like, who doesn't want to do that? Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I love it. I've seen the same types of things. It's you reach out to somebody like, oh man, why would this person respond to me? Oh, I got a show. Hey, I'd love to interview you. Okay, tell me a little bit about it. Oh, that's a good fit. I get to talk about God. Oh, I don't get to talk about God a lot. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Okay. So, yeah, it's good. What does it look like then to get into different countries? So you've gotten into all these different countries. Is there something different to be able to branch out that way, or how did you find that?
I'll be honest. I don't know, other than making sure you're published on as many listening platforms as possible. There is this woman that I want to connect with. I think she's put a pause on her thing, but she has access through her like listening platform to 2 billion dumb phones, not smartphones, but dumb phones over in the Desi region, which is India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. That is the most populated part of the world. They have 1/4 of the Earth's population is in those 3 countries. And so if you can get on the podcast platforms that those 3 countries are listening to, you get direct access to 1/4 of the population of the entire globe. So that is really helpful. But I think some of it is because I've had such a diversity of guests that have their own audiences in all kinds of different places. Then I think that has helped when I've had people from the UK or from New Zealand or South Africa or whatever. Their accents are delicious and it's wonderful. But besides that, their audiences look them up and they find my show. And so I think that it's some of that, just the networking and being on the right platforms. And then the other thing is I pray and I ask the Lord, I set goals every year. I'm like, God, I want to be listened to in 90 countries this year. You're the one who brings the growth. Push me to 90 countries. Lord, I want to be in this many countries. I want to hit this percentage for top global rankings. And so I put those goals before the Lord every year. And I always ask him to bless it. And he helps me achieve those goals.
I love that. It's one thing that I believe a lot of Christian entrepreneurs miss is starting everything that we do with prayer. Before we even start our day, do we know what Holy Spirit wants us to do that day? And like you said, our goals, if we don't lay it out, how do we expect God to bless it? How do we expect there to be favor on it? How do we expect to achieve it if we don't even ask the Lord for it? And so we're walking more into the world than we are remembering the foundation of where we're at and where we should start and where it all ultimately comes from in the heart and where the kingdom can be released.
100%. We have this unfair advantage. Like, it's literally an unfair advantage. I have the God of the universe in my corner wanting me to succeed. What the heck? Why would I not? And I realized at one point, every major milestone that's happened with my show has happened because of prayer. So I actually have built in prayer partners and a monthly prayer call into my podcast network because I was like, why would we not honor the Lord and his influence in this process? Why would we not do that? And my students have already started having these breakthroughs because they're praying together and consulting the Lord. But there's also a passage in the Old Testament, I want to say it's Jeremiah, where it says, as for the works of my hands, God is talking, as for the works of my hands, you command me. You command me. Why? Because God has given us delegated authority in the earth, and we have a responsibility to do things in the earth. And he's like, tell me what to do. It's kind of like this. I give this analogy. I'm a senior pastor, so everyone in our staff is under my husband and I's leadership. So our worship pastor, Grace, she's under my leadership, but I'm on the worship team. And so when I'm on the worship team in her jurisdiction, she becomes my pastor. She becomes my boss. And so many times I'll tell her, Grace, tell me what to do. Do I harmonize here? Do I lead on this song? Do I be quiet here because you're leading? What do I do? You tell me what to do. And that's kind of essentially the same thing. God has given us delegated authority in this jurisdiction. And he's like, hey, I honor your jurisdiction in this place. You tell me what to do. How am I going to partner with you? I give you the job. Your job here is to rule and reign and take dominion. And so do the thing. Tell me what to do. And so when we pull the Lord in through prayer, we're not bossing him around. You want to do it from a place of hearing his desires as well. And, in that same analogy, if Grace was to do something that got away from what our vision for the church is, we would step in and go, okay, Grace, maybe not there. Let's go this direction. We would offer the counsel just as the Lord does with us. But in general, we delegate it to her. I trust her. Do the thing, be creative, have the fun, do all the things. And God very much feels the same way with us. He's like, you're taking space and dominion in this earth. Do the thing. Just tell me what you need and I'll make it happen. And so partnering with the Lord in prayer is huge. Even before I met Sean Bowles and Adam Curry and got connected to them, I had contacted my prayer team. I have a small intercessory team that prays for me as a podcaster. I had contacted them in tears. Guys, I need a breakthrough. I'm tired. My business this, my podcast this. I need a breakthrough. There's more. I can feel it. And they prayed. And I had this huge breakthrough. It's a whole story, but it's a huge breakthrough where I met Adam Curry and Sean. So it's like, you got to pull the Lord into what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so important to be able to remember that. I'm teaching an identity course right now. And one of the things I taught this last week is Jesus calls us friend. A friend is not a one-way dictation. Sometimes when we get stuck making a decision, God is saying, my son, my daughter, I trust you. What do you want? And I'll bless it. And it's going exactly with what you're saying there. And I believe that the word says that he wants to give us our heart's desires, right? And if our desires, as long as it's aligned with his, like you were saying, it's aligned with his, of course he wants to get it. He wants to give it to us. But a lot of times he's waiting for us to ask him for it, to put it out there and say, God, this is it. This is what I want.
Yes, I agree with you. I think a lot of believers believe in a micromanaging version of God. And he's not a controlling God. He doesn't operate out of fear. Micromanagement comes out of fear. And I find, like, with the example of Grace, we love when Grace gets creative. We love when she steps into her gifts and she steps out in confidence and boldness. And she's like, I had this idea, because her heart is aligned with ours. She's in our corner. She always wants to fulfill the vision that's in our hearts. We trust each other. And God trusts us. The more that you can steward loving people well and honoring the Spirit of God in your life, he trusts you. And so how might you be able to throw off the fear that you're going to miss it? Throw off the fear that you're going to mess things up. Throw off the fear that you're going to get outside of God's will. His will is very broad. It's very simple. Bring people to Jesus. Love people and love God. That's his will. It's very simple. And so get creative and just have fun and just pull the Lord into the process as well. It's way more fun than people realize.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. How about when it comes to promoting? You're talking about getting things out there and partnering with the Lord. As you promote things, whether it be social media, like what are some of the avenues that you've seen work the best?
Yeah, well, let me speak to a little barrier people encounter, especially Christians. A lot of times, and I dealt with this in the beginning, promotion felt like self-promotion. And I found myself struggling with, this feels egotistical. It feels narcissistic. It feels like it's all about me. If you focus on the problem you're solving for people and the solution you're bringing to them, A, it's not about you, it's about them. But then B, God told me one day, he said, Jenilee, he said, if you have a light that's meant to help people, you don't hide it under a bushel. You put it at the top of the hill where it can give light to many. And that's what you're doing by marketing your business and marketing your podcast. And that freed me so much from feeling that wrestling. And that's why I bring it up, because a lot of people get stuck there. But as far as marketing and promotion, there are multiple things people can do to grow their podcasts. One, very important, we've already talked about, is the SEO of your titles. Hugely important. Secondly, we've talked about is your artwork. Your artwork needs to look professional and look appealing, because 80% of people's decisions they make with their eyes. So if your artwork sucks, they're going to assume your show sucks. So put the effort into learning how to use Canva, or hire somebody to do your thumbnails because it actually really matters. The other thing that I tell people to do is co-hosting or like guesting, being a guest, but having a guest. So having guests on your show is valuable because it brings up the retail value of your show by having all those additional voices, right? But what's more quickly effective is being a guest on other people's shows because it exposes you to other people's audiences. And so both are very important. The getting in front of audiences is more important in the short run. Having people on your show is more important in the long run because it gives you a depth of content, a lot of great connections, and then it helps for searchability. When people look for them, they're searching for that person's name, they'll find your show. So those are the top ones. I feel like there's one I'm missing other than just making sure you're telling everybody about it, and social media is valuable.
How do you help your guests be able to share the show?
Whenever I publish an episode, I will send them the artwork and the show links on Apple, Spotify, and Godcaster, which is the platform we use with Adam Curry. It's a no login link, so it's very convenient for people. And so I'll send them all of those assets, but I make sure that if I'm going to post about the episode, which I try to every time, I don't always, but I try to at least make a reel and maybe a carousel. I will always tag them and make them a collaborator. So it's very easy. All they have to do is say, share to my profile, and they don't have to create anything. I don't send over a bunch of pre-made assets. People have done that for me, but it's still more work. I got to take those assets, go create the reel, come up with a caption, That's still a lot of work, and I typically don't share those. But if they tag me and make it easy, I'll share that. So that's what I do with others.
That's a great tip. Great tip. So we've talked about the front end and building it out and what things you can say. How about on the back end? How have you encouraged people, or how do you drop a call to action or a free lead magnet? What have you seen be the best call to actions for people?
You want to sell the value in your call to action. So if it's just don't be bossy with your audience, invite them into an opportunity. And so your call to action needs to sound like an opportunity that they don't want to miss, not like, hey, go do this because I said so because it's awesome and you should believe me. You want it to paint the picture of the transformation that's going to come from the opportunity. And then I have also heard, just very tactically, not to put a call to action in the beginning of your episode for this reason. If people go to click play, they're expecting to get value from your episode. If you're already asking for something before they've even gotten any value, it feels like it breaks trust. They're like, give me value first, and then I'll trust you, and then I might do something. Because the more value you add to them, the longer they listen to your episode, the more subconsciously indebted they feel to you. So then a call to action is going to be more effective halfway through or even towards the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. I know one of the things I've heard you say is that if you were to start over again, you would hire a podcast coach. Why would you hire a podcast coach if you were just starting, and what's the benefits of that?
Hey, listen, I've been in it for almost 10 years. I would still hire a podcast coach because the value is every person, and I found this from just collaborating with other fellow podcasters. There was one girl, she's a friend from high school, and she was a podcaster. Every time we got off the phone with each other, I had new ideas and she had new ideas. In fact, an idea from her is what caused me to create a subtitle that had keywords in it, and that boosted my downloads 30 to 40% overnight. And so I just come to learn everyone has their unique secret sauces and the keys that they've uncovered that I haven't uncovered. And so even though I'm a podcast coach, I am constantly learning from other podcast coaches because they just have strengths and assets in places where I see things differently and I need their wisdom. And so, yes, but if I was starting over, good Lord, I spent 3 years struggling to even figure out what the heck I was doing with my podcast. And that's probably part of why I felt like an imposter for so long. I didn't feel like a legit podcaster till I think I hit 100 episodes. That's a long time to feel like you're faking it. So yeah, I would definitely hire a coach because you're purchasing the shortcut to success is what you're doing when you hire a coach.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings is that a coach isn't a crutch, it's an accelerant. And if you actually want to accelerate forward, not have to go through all the pain and the suffering. It's worth the investment to start off
Yeah.
with.
I mean, you can cry the tears I cried. You can waste the money I wasted if you want to. Or you can just spend less of it with me and then I'll help you bypass all of that.
That's right. That's right. So you talked about having a challenge. You talked about that you help podcasters. What's a way that the listeners can be able to connect with you, or be able to get a little more in depth about what podcasting is?
Yeah, 100%. I have multiple ways to serve people. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I can serve both people who don't have a show yet or they already have a show and they're looking for more. I have quite a few people that have come to me and have joined my podcast network because they already had a show, but they were looking for ongoing coaching and community and access to the people I have access to. Adam Curry, Sean Bowles, Summer Day, the people that have come and helped coach my students. And so I've created this community, a network of podcasters. And I got a message from one of my students that's in there. And she goes, Jenilee, I am loving getting to know everyone in our network between the prayer calls and them having prayer partners. They're falling in love with each other. Not romantically, but And then the other thing is they've started collaborating and getting on each other's shows. And that's the whole point. And so by doing that, they're getting to know each other well. They're building this sense of belonging and community. It's so valuable because since podcasting is so undersaturated, it can feel very lonely if you don't have a community that you're a part of. And so that's why that's so important. If someone already has a show, when people join my network, I do an audit with them. We look at their show and I make as many suggestions as I can fit into 30 minutes to tighten up different things to help them boost downloads, be more clear, maybe clean up their artwork, whatever. And so that way they come in with some wins that they can win. Now, if someone does not have a show, they can do my 4-day challenge or they can coach with me directly to get their show published. One of those is something they can do 2 days. In 2 days of coaching, working one-on-one with me, we can get your show launched. And so some people like to take that approach. Some people like the digital course approach, but I have ways to help people get their shows up for sure.
I love it. I love it. And it's important. This show got put together. It took me almost 8 months to be able to get it all put together, figure it out, watch YouTubes, figure all this and that. And the only reason why I started this is because I love talking to people. So now I have an excuse to talk to people and the network, just like you were saying.
Yep. So smart. So smart.
So if people want to find you, what's a way that they can connect with you?
Yes. Well, I have a gift for your audience that you can drop the link in the show notes. But it's a 3-part gift. So the session that I mentioned with Adam Curry, where he came and talked to my students about how to monetize your show through listener sponsorships, it's that video. And I'm telling you, it's gold. And I'm not sure that it's always going to be available as a gift, but I decided to do it anyways because it's so valuable. So it's that, and then it's a 20% coupon code if you do decide to work with me. So you come in with a leg up. And then the other one is a 7-step checklist. Kind of, it gives you a bird's eye roadmap view of not just starting, but launching and then monetizing your podcast. So it's of course not exhaustive, but it gives you an overview of the process. You can kind of orient where you are and where you need to go next. So all that is in that link.
Yeah, so good. Yes, and we'll have that in the description. Everything down below as well. Jenilee, this has been amazing. So good. So much gold in here. But I want to end with this. If someone's listening right now, they feel unqualified. Maybe they thought about starting a podcast, but there's fear, there's doubt, there's that perfectionism that's kept them stuck. What would you say to that version of them and where they should be going to?
I would say if you didn't feel that way, I would be worried about you. Because having that fear and that apprehension is 100% your normal human design. Because now imposter syndrome can be a bit tormenting. You don't want to live in that space. But your brain is designed to keep you safe. And if it doesn't have a roadmap for what you want to step into, it doesn't feel safe. And so it's going to throw all the red flags and all the reasons why you should run in the other direction. So the fact that you feel concerned, the fact that you feel afraid, the fact that you feel like an imposter, all of that is your brain just trying to keep you safe. But the problem is a safe self is not always an accomplished self. And so getting outside of your comfort zone and telling your brain, hold on, I know you're scared. It's okay. It's not going to be scary in just a few months, you know? And so once you start putting one foot in front of the other, it gets less scary and less scary and less scary. I think it was Tamara Lowe who I heard say this. She said, nothing is beyond 2 hours of learning. Which, yes, big stuff is beyond 2 hours of learning. But any small step that you need to make, set aside 2 hours, do some learning on YouTube, or work with me as your coach. You can learn things in 2 hours, and then your brain won't be afraid anymore. And so just by getting immersed, it's kind of like jumping in a pool, just kind of ease your way in, you acclimate. And so if you are afraid, if you feel like an imposter, that will pass. You will earn your confidence, but confidence must be earned. It really is an earned thing. I felt like an imposter for about 100 episodes. You'll get there. I don't feel like an imposter anymore, thank the Lord.
No, you have given us so much gold. You have shown us through example of who you are and the journey that you've been on. And so thank you so much for joining us and pouring into us. And, you know, I encourage everybody to check her out, check out her podcast, jump on that and learn from the ways that she does things. And so for those of you that are watching, just remember that this isn't about microphones. It's not about platforms. It's really about the stewardship. It's about multiplying your voice with kingdom influence. You know, Jenilee didn't just start with a podcast. She started with wanting to have a movement of realizing that her voice was her assignment. And then God came and met her and anointed her. So stop waiting for perfection. Stop questioning your worth. Start speaking like heaven and people are listening, because what you have to say matters. The world needs anointed voices right now. And so, my friends, if you're listening to this right now, you are that voice. You are that assignment. So go and get your voice heard. For today, school is dismissed, but your influence never takes a day off. So stay bold, stay strong, and go and leave an influence. Bye.